Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about some of my top index picks for the rest of the year 2024. I'm going to be sharing you my opinions on different indices than perhaps the usual ones that we talk about. Of course, we can talk about the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones. These are the ones that everyone knows, and these are things that I personally trade a lot. But we're also going to be taking a look at some of my more lesser known picks or ideas for the rest of 2024. And more importantly, why I like these things. Now, please remember, this is not financial advice, and these are just my personal opinions as always. But I'm going to at least give you a breakdown as to why I have the opinions that I have to hopefully give you some more insights. Now, before I get too far into this video, let me just let you know that this video is sponsored by Vantage Markets, which will be linked down below in the description if you'd like to check out their platform. It is available for non-US people. Unfortunately, I can't actually trade with this broker, but this is something that is available. They offer a ton of things for people outside of the US. So for non-US people, it might be worth checking out using the link below. So first of all, you can see they have so many different things that you can trade on this broker: indices, crypto, commodities, silver, gold, etc. Today, we're going to be talking about indices, and I've picked a couple here that I wanted to actually talk to you guys a little bit about and share my thoughts on them. So first of all, I'll talk about the overall case that I have for the rest of 2024. For the rest of the year, I am still bullish on the markets in general. So if we're taking a look at the NASDAQ, for example, there's some nice upward trends that have been going on this year that I do think that have room to continue. That being said, in the short term, I do believe there's probably a good shot we do see some pullback in these things, as it is rare for them to move straight up forever. They usually have pullbacks and periods of kind of selling coming into the picture. But these pullbacks, generally speaking, have been a good opportunity to be a buyer, except for in 2022. Now, do I think that we're going to enter into a 2022 environment again? I personally don't think so for now. At this time, we were facing very, steady rising inflation, and the Fed was raising its interest rates to combat that inflation, and the market was very scared about that. Now we've seen progress globally for the inflation story, and the Fed seems like it is going to be making rate cuts at some point, which could be a positive thing for companies and earnings. And so I do think that the general direction for indices for the remainder of this year is up. I've made that point many times in my videos, but now I'm going to talk about, with that context in mind, which ones do I actually think have the potential to rise more so than others? Well, let's jump into it. So the NASDAQ is an area that I want to start. I do like the idea of buying pullbacks on the NASDAQ. Perhaps if we can get down into like the mid 18,000s, there's room for, pullback plays to come back into this market and look for an opportunity to be a buyer. So I have an interest in buying the NASDAQ on pullbacks, which would be one of the most kind of more obvious plays in the book. But now I want to talk a little bit about something else. This is my other pick for this year that isn't yet forming the setup, but I am looking for it to do so. This is the US 2000, and it is available, like I said, on Vantage's platform. You can trade US 2000, which is the Russell. And the Russell, if you're not familiar with the Russell, you've never seen it traded before or talked about, the Russell is smaller cap companies in the United States. So smaller companies have some more upside and more volatility to the downside in the event that the market rises or falls. Generally speaking, if you get a good growth environment, the Russell can do very, very well. And if things slow down, the Russell takes a big beating. That being said, when we talk about the US 2000 here, or the Russell, what I'm looking for is, from a technical perspective, I'm looking for breakouts. I'm looking for a trend to start to form and for us to actually see some follow through to the upside. We've been in this steady downward trend recently, but I think we could see some real significant outperformance on the Russell if we see a few things start to formulate. And let me break those down for you. So I've just drawn into this picture the word inflation and the economy. These are paraphrased or shortened. So if I'm taking a look at the Russell, what we really want to see in an ideal situation for the Russell to go up a lot would be a strengthening economy and inflation to be coming down. And when I say down, I'm saying towards the 2% target. We want to see the economy come into strength or stay strong while inflation's coming down. Right now, what I would say is not really contributing to this picture is that the economy itself is showing some signs, with the consumer slowing down, of kind of going sideways. And at the same time, inflation is also steadily staying sideways, if not kind of rising in recent months. And so I think we're missing a few puzzle pieces when it comes to the Russell being a very explosive upside move. That being said, if you're asking me what my top setups for the rest of 2024 would be, it has to include the Russell, because if we see those things start to form, breakouts on the Russell look very attractive to me. Again, I'm looking for inflation to come down and for the economy to stay relatively strong or even strengthen from here in order for me to think we're entering into a really potentially another boom cycle, another growth cycle in the economy. Now, why would that help the small cap companies so much? Well, it's because small cap companies require borrowing in order to make greater growth potential, right? They need to be able to borrow money and build out businesses. And for that to be a sustainable thing, borrowing costs need to come down. For borrowing costs to come down, the Fed needs to lower interest rates. And for that to happen, they want to see inflation cool off. The third and final pick that I have is the Chinese stock market. This is more of a contrarian play because the Chinese stock market has been a really rough place to invest in the last, really the last decade. We've seen huge moves up, but we've also seen periods where the stock market for China has really, really struggled. That being said, I do think that there is a huge potential in China and also in places like India, many parts of Asia. But the Chinese stock market, I think, has the potential to have another cycle of growth and another explosion higher. They are the second now largest population on planet Earth, and there's a ton of innovation that comes out of China. This is a high risk, high reward place to invest because if you get it right, and China, if I'm right about this idea that I have, and China, does see a phase in the next 5-10 years of huge growth, this could look like very cheap prices. That being said, these things could look very expensive. These prices could be very expensive if, China and Taiwan go after it or something like that, and we see the Chinese economy further distance itself from the rest of the world in terms of being investable. If U.S. Foreign, investment is becoming more and more welcome in China, this would be a signal to me that China could be a great place for high reward relative to risk ideas. So I do think that there is a potential that the Chinese economy is bottoming out and that there could be, opportunities to look for breakouts, and perhaps we start to see these moving averages flipping bullish. We start to see some reversal of this lower high and lower low pattern that we've seen. So the signal for me on the Chinese stock market would be to see if we can break through some key levels of resistance and some lower highs that have formed previously. And I have a bonus one for you. It is offered on the Vantage platform. It's the VIX. And the VIX is a very, very interesting chart because the VIX is a volatility index, and not all places allow you to trade it. So I think it's really cool that you can trade it on this platform. So the VIX is the volatility index. And fun fact about the VIX, it is a yearly outlook, 12-month outlook as to what the market thinks the range of potential outcomes on the S&P 500 will be in terms of a percentage form. So if you have a 14 VIX, that is a 14% expected move in either direction for the stock market in the coming year. The VIX, I think, is really, really low, and I don't personally think that it will stay there for a suspended period of time. I think that there is a possibility that you see with this year being an election year, with many things kind of coming down the pipeline between geopolitics, wars in the Middle East and in Asia and in Ukraine and Russia. If anything continues to escalate there, I don't think the VIX will stay here for a very long time. Also, what could cause a spike in the VIX would be a potential reversal in the inflation story. If inflation starts to rise, the VIX is likely to go up as the market might start to think, well, the Fed's going to actually raise interest rates again. If that story, again, this is contrarian because this is not what is expected. That's why the VIX is so low. But if something changes in the narrative, the VIX might be a great play to look for upside. Now, do I just go buy the VIX? No, I think you have to wait for this is more of a trader's vehicle, because what you'll see about the VIX is it doesn't really, over the long term, it tends to have big spikes and then reverse its way back down to the lows. But when you get these long suspended periods of low volatility, it usually, at some point or another, it almost always sees another spike in volatility when the next thing that the market gets worried about happens. Here is 2020, for example, where the VIX massively skyrocketed up to 77 plus. So this is another one that I personally will have my eye on. I hope you liked taking a look at some of my index plays for 2024, things that I'm personally watching and looking out for. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And second of all, after that, if you'd like to check out Vantage, the link will be down below in the description to check out their platform. And that is for people outside of the US. So thank you very much for watching. See you next time.